Walter White, settling into his new, high-tech lab, finds himself surprisingly drawn to his new lab assistant, Gale. A bright, academic type with a bachelor's from UNM and a master's from the University of Colorado, boasts an impressive background in X-Ray Crystallography. But it's Gale's uncanny ability to brew the most exquisite coffee that truly wins Walter over. Soon, the two are immersed in their work, producing the first batch of meth for Gus Fring. As they toil, Gale, eager to learn the ropes, begins to bond with Walter, picking his brain about the intricacies of the manufacturing process. Meanwhile, Jesse Pinkman, seething with resentment toward Walter, is back in action, teaming up with Skinny Pete and Badger in the old RV. Jesse charges Badger with getting the RV tuned up by his cousin, while Skinny Pete is tasked with stocking up on supplies for their new desert cook operation. Jesse is determined to forge his own path, free from Walter's control. At home, Walt Jr. is becoming increasingly aware of the tension between his parents, demanding answers about their crumbling relationship. Walter and Skylar, facing the reality of their impending divorce, decide to have the difficult conversation with Walt Jr., hoping to explain the situation with some modicum of grace. Skylar, ever practical, makes it clear to Walter that she wants nothing to do with his drug money, refusing to accept it for her or Walt Jr., as that would make them accessories to his criminal enterprise. Adding to the pressure, Walter realizes that his brother-in-law, DEA agent Hank Schrader, is closing in. Hank has discovered the RV and is now watching Jesse like a hawk, waiting for the young dealer to lead him to the next operation. Frustrated by his stakeout and pressure from his wife, Marie, to return home, Hank decides to confront Walter. He asks if Jesse ever owned an RV, remembering the story Skylar had told him, how Jesse sold Walter pot when he was first diagnosed with cancer. This fuels Hank's suspicion that Jesse has moved beyond petty drug deals and is now involved in the production of crystal meth. Panicked, Walter tries to reach out to Saul Goodman, convinced that Jesse's house is under surveillance and his phones are likely tapped. But Saul, spooked by the level of heat, refuses to get involved. Desperate, Walter drives to the location where the RV is being repaired, confronts Badger and his cousin, and impulsively drives it to a salvage yard. Badger, alarmed, calls Jesse, telling him that Walter intends to destroy their mobile lab. Jesse rushes to the yard, unaware that Hank is tailing him. Hank quickly finds both Walt and Jesse inside the RV. Jesse and Walter find themselves in a heated argument, with Jesse convinced Walter is sabotaging his business. It's not until Hank starts snooping around the RV that Jesse begins to believe Walter's claims about the impending threat. The savvy owner of the salvage yard, aware of his legal rights, refuses to allow Hank to search the RV without a warrant, pointing out that it functions as a domicile. Hank, knowing he is close to cracking the case, opts to hold his ground while his colleagues work on securing the necessary paperwork. In a desperate bid to avoid being discovered, the two cooks manage to distract Hank through a carefully orchestrated ruse. Saul Goodman, always ready with a scheme, has his secretary call Hank, claiming that Marie has been in an accident. As Hank realizes he has been duped, Walter and Jesse, knowing they've been given a reprieve, have the RV crushed in a junkyard, destroying any incriminating evidence. Meanwhile, Gus Fring, ever the strategic player, recognizes that the two vengeful cousins of Tuco are fixated on killing Walt. The two menacing cousins have taken to waiting in his store, a silent daily vigil that unnerves everyone around them. Gus expertly deflects their rage, redirecting their attention toward Hank, the man who actually pulled the trigger on Tuco, effectively turning their focus from Walt, a shift that may just save Walt's life.